Welcome back, everyone. Happy New Year. I'm your host, co-host, Connor Nunez.
And I'm Matt
In the
Smith.
studio, and we have Matt Smith.
And the other co-host that Connor forgot to name, Matt Smith.
Right. So we have here in the studio a very, very special guest for whom I have written our customary intro, somewhat edited by my mother, but I will begin nonetheless. So we have here the gallant genius in Geneva, the rowdy Roman raconteur, the diplomat with the logistics down pat. He puts the fun in UN. Here is a man who my girlfriend says is, quote, more charming than me. My crass, cocky, and hyper-competent cousin, the legendary logistics lion, the most accomplished person in my try-hard family. He'll hear no bells for the Nobel. Colin, if you need anything. Operation Colin Thunder, my brother from another mother, Colin Ourhan.
Nailed it, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Colin, just out of curiosity, have you listened to any other episodes where you've heard Connor do the most ridiculous intros possible?
That was my first one. I'm gonna be honest with you guys.
Oh,
You're allowed to. Yeah, you're allowed to say no.
Yeah. I'm not bugging you. This was a thing that has kind of happened from the beginning, and then we got tired of it, and then Connor got reinvigorated with it. So,
yeah,
I like it though. It works.
Yeah.
I think it's a good way to juice up the guest. It's a good way to get pumped. You know, it's I think that our elite listeners love it. So,
yeah.
So to begin, Colin, I was going to ask a question which we haven't really workshopped, but I think will work for you especially well. Could you give us a CV curriculum vitae in a minute? I'm not going to time you, but approximately a minute.
Sure. Went to graduate school in Vienna, Austria, focusing on. Thank you. Focusing on peace and. It's a great town, man. I had a blast there. Great place. Great place to go to school. So I did my master's in peace and conflict studies, one of the earlier peace programs that was made available. After that, I was working for a non-governmental organization, an NGO that was focusing on peace and reconstruction at the sort of the community level in Sri Lanka between the Tamils and the Sinhalese. So I did that for a few years. And then I flipped over to the United Nations. So started working in the World Food Program about 2007, 2008, doing a bit of policy work, humanitarian principles, protection, sort of human rights-based stuff. Flipped to supply chain or logistics. So did that for about 5-6 years. It was there that I started doing an emergency sort of first group of people out the door. So I did that for about 10 years. So all the big emergencies around the world, whether it was natural disasters or civil wars, conflict, international conflict, I was one of the first people to be deployed out.
Oh, wow.
Did that for about 5, 6, 7, more than that, 10 years now. And then I flipped to building the capacity for our organization with militaries. So how we interact with militaries, both international and national. So basically we work in really complex environments and there's always military actors running around doing stuff, positive things, negative things. And it's my job to make sure that we have connections and they understand why we're there, what we're doing, and we understand from an institutional level what they're trying to accomplish and where there are synergies or common goals, like in a natural disaster. We work together, and when the goals are not aligned, we have a separation. There's a space allowed for humanitarianism as best we can. Do not look at the news. It's not always effective, but we try.
Diplomatic. Extremely diplomatic.
Yeah. So Connor tells me you have laid your head many places all over the world for, sounds like a good majority of your life. But where do you say you are from?
It's a bit of a mix. It's I was born in DC, but formative years, college was Hawaii, Big Island of Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
So I have a nice mix of East Coast, West Coast. Mom's family all from Hawaii, Big Island, and then but I grew up in Rome. My dad was a diplomat, focusing on gender issues, and so I grew up in Rome. So I think I'm a mix between got a little Washingtonian, got a little Hawaiian, but in my core, I'm a Roman.
Nice. And where do you live now, or I guess where are you stationed? Like
I'm,
primarily?
yeah, sure. I'm in Geneva, Switzerland.
Okay.
I'm right next to the mothership, right by the League of Nations building, which is now the UN Palais.
Wow. Impressive, man.
How
Yeah.
do they? How does Geneva? Because I've never been to Geneva. I just have heard a lot about Geneva. How do they compare Rome and Geneva? Like, are they similar at all? I guess Geneva is very small.
It's very small. It would be difficult to say that they're similar. The only thing
Yeah.
that remotely unique, the remotely sort of any kind of intersection is languages, right? Like Italian is a national language for Switzerland, so you can speak the language, and they have decent pizza, pasta, coffees are readily available. I need my
Nice.
coffee, but
Yeah.
otherwise, yeah, they're vastly different. I mean, Rome is a city, I think, of 5-6 million, and Geneva is about 500,000. So it's a small town,
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
things considered. And it's very international. The Swiss don't even consider it Switzerland because it's so international. Oh,
That's
true,
pretty
man. Like
funny.
they got you go across the lake because I'm on sort of like the humanitarian side. On the other side is the banking district. So
Okay.
over there, you've got like the Rothschild part of town where it's like 4 or 5
Yeah.
blocks of Rothschild buildings, and it's
Right.
their private wealth bank. So like it's a weird juxtaposition of things. It's like Red Cross, Red Crescent here, the UN here, and then you got those guys over there.
Right.
But
Right.
Yeah.
you deal with it.
Yeah. What's your go-to coffee drink, just out of curiosity?
Depends on the time of day, but normally I will go with an americano. I like
Okay.
just a shot of espresso with a lot of water, and then after meals, espresso. You have to
Nice.
have an.
Yeah, you have
Do
to.
you
You have
follow
to.
the cappuccino tradition? Like,
God, yes,
not
man.
post two
No milk
p.m.
after
Yeah,
no milk after lunch, man.
No.
Can't do it.
it's
No,
no milk
absolutely.
after lunch.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it's
What
milk, baby.
about late at night? What about late at night when you're eating peanut butter out of the jar with a spoon?
Nobody needs to know about that, Connor.
You don't want to. You don't want to drink milk in that time, in your time of need.
Well,
Man,
no, man.
Yeah. Yeah. These are
good.
trade secrets, Connor. Trade secrets.
Yeah,
Uh,
there would be wine involved with
We
that.
talk about milk on this show. We
I
talk
know.
about milk, and I think. Listen, it's foundational to Italian culture, right? Like there wouldn't be shit without milk. So the
Yeah, but
Roman,
I mean, but you can still get the dairy, right? Like you can get mozzarella, you can get all the incredible cheeses. Like I don't need milk. I'm not a milk
Yeah.
guy. I'm gonna be honest with you.
Yeah. Same here. Same here. Never have been.
Doesn't always agree with me, So I avoid it when I need to. I
Yeah.
would rather save it for incredible cheeses and things where you absolutely need to have it.
There you go. Yeah, this is. I've been to Italy, to Florence for work a few years ago. We flew into Rome. I didn't really spend any time in Rome, and I've been to Vienna. The only two places that I've been to in Europe. And one thing that really struck me, like it first of all, going to Europe made me enjoy hot espresso because I'm basically an iced coffee all year round person.
Mm.
The second thing, and I don't know if this is true for Geneva as well. In Florence, in particular, there was a quote unquote American coffee shop that was like a budget Starbucks, and it was like the worst coffee I've ever had in my fucking life. I don't know. And then there's no iced coffee in Vienna. We went to Budapest, and the iced coffee was coffee with a drop of ice cream in it, and I was just like, is this not something that exists in most of Europe?
They do iced coffee, or they do cold coffee in Italy
Okay,
in the
yeah,
summer. It's
right.
usually pre-mixed with sugar, and it comes almost in like a champagne flute kind of thing.
Oh,
And
that sounds terrible, actually.
it's not great. It's not
Yeah,
my favorite thing. It's literally like it's a shot of espresso with all the sugar you can imagine. So you're getting like wired immediately. But no, like the big cup with the ice is not really a thing.
yeah,
And
yeah.
they kind of avoid if you ask for it. But those Can I cuss, Connor? Can I cuss, guys? Am
You
Fuck
I?
can
yeah.
absolutely, yeah,
Oh
fuck
yeah.
yeah.
Those motherfuckers from Starbucks are there, man. There's like 3 Starbucks in Rome now, and
Oh,
they're doing okay,
really?
which is killing my soul. It's
Yeah,
killing my soul.
that's sad as hell.
Well, Domino's showed up, and they lasted about an hour and a half, and then
What?
That's
they
like
were
the
run out
title
of
of a memoir, like the Rome Dominoes. That's like
Yeah, it did
Yeah.
not. It didn't go
unspeakable.
well for them. It didn't go well for them.
Right.
Were there protests?
No, the thing is like their whole deal, right, is delivery,
Yeah.
and they had in some ways bad timing because COVID happened, and then all of Italy was like, "Oh, delivery is kind of cool," and all the delivery companies showed up, like Uber Eats and things.
Right.
So every pizzeria in Italy delivered at that point.
Yeah. Yeah.
Their entire business model went through the floor overnight.
Right.
Because
I would
like if you
imagine
can
also,
get,
like, from what I remember, I mean, this was 2013, so over a decade ago, or almost over a decade ago. Shit was like amazing food in Florence was absurdly cheap. Like
yeah,
going into the like the little bakery next to the B&B where we were staying, get these little like breakfast pizzas. Don't really know what they were, but it was like €1.50. And
yeah,
I can't imagine Domino's trying to compete with like amazing Italian pizza.
it's
No American company will sell dollar food ever again. I don't
Right.
think.
no, no. Yeah, but I agree with you, Matt. Like I think it's a difficult market for them to crack. I think Starbucks has a shot just because it's not really coffee. Like it's a
Right.
coffee cocktail. And I
Yeah, yeah.
think that there's enough tourists that people will go for it. But I think the locals will try it and then be like, yeah, why would I do that? I'm not waiting in a line for
Yeah.
45 minutes to get a coffee and get 2
Yeah,
rolls.
I mean, tourists want frappuccinos all hours of the day.
Yeah.
I
I
would
mean, it's
think.
Starbucks and most American coffee of that ilk is basically a milkshake disguised as a coffee drink.
Exactly. And they're not going to shame you for having milk after lunch, Connor. So
Right.
that's the solution to your problem.
Right. Connor,
I like am American. I am American in like one way, maybe a couple or a few ways. But the milk thing really puts me into that
you
category.
really struck a nerve on this one.
I know,
Yeah,
man.
well, it's
Yeah.
like it's the fucking mother beverage. It's the like edible
It's not even like
cocktail.
American milk is so pasteurized. It lasts for 6 months. It's not even like you got anywhere else in the world. You got to get new milk like every other day.
Right.
It tastes completely different.
Right.
Dude, I know this guy who listens to this show, he drinks 2.5 gallons of milk a week.
I want his digestive system. That is
No
incredible.
shit.
Yeah. Jake is a Marine. He's like bonkers, but the milk thing is real. From the Midwest.
Of course. So, Colin, having been exposed to so many like different cultures throughout your life and career, how do you think seeing different parts of the world so frequently has influenced you? And have there been some places where you were really more blown away and influenced by than others? I know it's kind of an open-ended question. Yeah.
Well, I think it's
you don't have to shit talk anyone either.
No, I don't. No, I wouldn't do that anyway. But I mean, I think that there's every time I go on a mission or travel or something like that, there's always pros and cons, right? So like, there's only been a couple places on the planet where I'm just sort of like, I never need to go back here. Like,
Right.
there's just genuinely this should be paved and turned into a parking lot for a Walmart distribution center. Like, there's really like 2 places in the world, I won't say what they are, that I'm like, no, nobody needs to be there. That is just It is a hell.
Right. Without divulging, is one of those in the southeast of the United States? Because we might have something in common here.
No. No. They're all in places run by, dictators or warlords.
Right.
So, it's just, what are you going to do? Like, it's just, you get there and you're kind of like, any more money we dump in this place is probably not going to end well for anyone involved. Like, taxpayers are paying it. It's not going to the people that need it. Like, it's just a bit of it breaks your heart, especially as somebody who's really trying to be sort of a positive impact in the places that I work, it's tough to see, because you kind
Absolutely.
of have to ask yourself, would this be better? Would this money be better spent in a place like Flint, Michigan than here? And I
Right.
have a hard time as a steward of donor money to be like, yeah, we should definitely pour more money into this, because clearly another million is what's going to solve the
Right.
problem. So though those aside, I think that every place has had an impact and influence. Like I worked a little bit in Afghanistan and Yemen. I was, part of the Libya response in 2011 when Gaddafi was removed from power. So there's always places where you see, the magnificence of the human spirit, but you also see like the worst part of humanity at the same
Yeah.
time. And it's those things are like sort of, it's exhausting, but at the same time sort of fills your heart a little bit, because like when you make an impact, it carries you for the next 6 months, 8 months, 9 months when you're going through horrible things. Like what's happening in Gaza right now, for instance. We had a few of the team on the ground in Gaza, and moving national staff to guest houses, so everybody was in one sort of facility with all their kids. Family members were brought in to protect them, almost like a human shield type scenario. It's horrible. But the fact that our staff are rallying together to try and keep everybody safe, and there's video footage of you know ex-military guys that are in the harshest situations voluntarily going into Gaza when everybody else is trying to leave, and they're sitting on you know swings pushing kids
Right.
and just trying to laugh for 15 minutes. Like, how do you not get emotional about that? How do you not get inspired by that? Very basic humanity, and it's a wonderful thing. So I'm not sure if there's a specific place. I think they all bring a little bit of value. There's probably a couple that have touched me more than others. I had a very interesting experience in Afghanistan. I was there in 2009 for a while, and I was not on the military side of things in the front line dealing with all of the provincial reconstruction stuff. I was much more on the humanitarian development side. So we were dealing with the, you know, different parts of the society, and you were dealing with sort of the women that are trying to make a difference at that time, local communities that are trying to rebuild after years of Taliban rule. Obviously, that's all changed now, but just seeing sort of the hope and seeing it from a different perspective, seeing the change happening on the ground in 2009 was really powerful, and I kind of fell in love with the place then.
Oh, that's awesome.
I don't really go back now. But it is what it is. But you take those chunks of time and you try and see what you learn in them, and move on. The old town in Sana'a in Yemen is spectacularly gorgeous. So I mean, you see what was created. I think it's a couple thousand years old. Don't test me on that; I was probably wrong. But it's incredible. Like basically skyscrapers made 2,000 years ago. I mean, they're beautiful.
Right.
So
Right. Like I have no frame of reference for that kind of thing, because even the sparse parts of Europe that I've been to, the oldest buildings are not as old as so much in that part of the
yeah,
world.
exactly. It's ancient, truly
Yeah,
ancient.
truly.
I was walking around Rome with Colin, and he pointed to this pharmacy and said, "That's where they cured the bubonic plague."
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's one of the places where they started working on sort of the cures for. I think it was bubonic plague, but yeah, it was pharmacy was founded originally in like 1400 something, and I think it's been built
Yeah,
since then. And you could still go in there today and be like, "Yo, I need some aspirin." It's not,
That's
it's,
yeah, that's one of the wildest, like, or that's one of those like what's a weird fact that Reddit threads that pop up on Instagram Explorer for me, and I'm like, my mind is blown at all of these things. Like, this pharmacy has been in operation for 800 years.
yeah, it's nuts. And it's 2 blocks away from where Cleopatra's residence was when she was there. Obviously, the pharmacy wasn't there, but when she was in Rome, hanging out with Augustus and I can forget the other Marcus Antony, uh,
right.
they were all like, this is where she was hanging out. I mean, Caravaggio, when he was painting and running around, womanizing and sword fighting, that was all in the same neighborhood. I mean, it's like 5-10 square blocks, and it's the red light district of Rome, and there's just passion in the streets. And it's
Right.
never changed. It's still a party spot.
Crazy.
But how do you not love that history?
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if I answered your question, but it's hard for
No.
me to single out a specific place.
No, that was a wonderful answer and very like
Yeah.
yeah, just very open ended and enjoyable.
What about a question we ask sometimes is what kind of clothes did you see growing up? I know we didn't put that on the question sheet, but like, so growing up in Rome, you must have seen like there are stylish people there that just
Well,
it's
I think
not like America at all.
Well, I think, you know, I when I was a kid, I was in El Salvador and the Philippines, Guatemala. We moved around quite a bit,
Right.
so you had a lot of sort of influences from a clothing standpoint from Asia, from Latin America. But then, you know, you come back to the DC area, and we're known for, you know, in the '80s, we were known for our style, man. Like the Sears and Roebuck's catalog was, you know, hot.
Right.
Those polyester suits.
Oh, my fucking arch nemesis.
Yeah. So, I mean, you go to Rome and you immediately start seeing all the Italian fashion. I mean, it's not quite Milan, but you have all the fancy stuff, and you see the, you know, the the women come out in boot season, and then you know, you see the carabinieri on their horses with their giant Prada riding boots and their flowing capes with the crimson on the inside. You're just blown away. You're like, this is what? That's a cop? Like,
The
come on,
Lamborghini police
all
cars, that
cops, man.
kind of shit.
Yeah. And they have their sabers. So, I mean, it's just you sort of get influenced by that. So I think Italian fashion, Italian clothes was something that, you know, you can't avoid. And I always had a hard time like coming back to the States because early on when I was a kid there, you know, we didn't have the internet like we do now. We didn't, you know, so style fads were completely different, right? So like I'd come back from the States and look like a freaking alien with my, you
Yeah.
know, sort of tight jeans and like that. And then I'd go back to Rome with American stuff and they'd be like, what the hell is that? And
Right.
then it's interesting to see like sort of mid 90s when you know, MTV sort of moving over and, you know, the baggy pants and the jersey showed up and you had this like cross cultural thing happen. And then, you know, hip hop took off in Europe and you had like, you know, the white Italian rappers. There was a famous one named Giovanotti who sort of paved the way in Italy and, you know, great music for those of you who are Italian music fans. But
So
it was
you
an
do, so you do know left field hip hop.
a
Because
little
like
bit.
Italian hip hop is not something that's ever occurred to me. I'm not going to quiz you on this, but I don't know anything about it at all. A
They have
good
a pretty
language to rap in, I imagine.
they've got some good stuff, man. I mean, Italian music. Are you kidding me? Like,
Right.
talk about
Right.
hundreds of years. So they've got it all there. But Giovanotti is sort of like he's reinvented himself six times. He doesn't really rap anymore. But you have a whole subculture that are rappers and like um, I think the biggest like Italian Instagram influencer person is Chiara Ferragni, and she's like a massive following. She goes to the Met Gala and stuff, and her husband's an Italian rapper and
Wow.
he's hilarious. I mean, he's super charismatic, super good, super famous in Italy, yachts, the whole nine. And they just sort of adopt the culture, even though they don't really have that culture. So it's, you know, they bring that Italian flavor and they add it to the Americana and they make it work, man.
That's cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Would
it's
you
kind of
be
amazing.
down to make like a 10 song playlist that we could post, Colin? Just of shit that you like or like Italian rap or whatever.
I can try to put something together. It'll take me a little while because it's been a while.
Oh yeah, no
There's
worries.
no
It'll be
time.
older
There's no
stuff.
time
It'll be
limit.
older stuff, guys. I'll be honest with you. It's not going to be current. I
No,
have to
no.
go back.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. I was gonna say like so. Some would say that American culture is like the dominant culture.
Yeah.
Uh, that I think gives Caucasians a little more credit than is due in terms of cultural creation, curation, all of that sort of stuff. But it's odd because it's like black culture and Italian culture are the two like dominant cultures, I guess, of the Western world anyway. Like, and they sort of feed off of each other in a way. Like, The Sopranos being the most popular TV show, like most critically acclaimed show
Mm.
about an Italian American family, and The Godfather and all that stuff, like all of those movies.
Yeah.
So
I
I
mean,
just think there's a closeness.
Mario Puzo and, you know, yeah, the link that the sort of the underbelly of the Italian culture has had on the Western world is pretty phenomenal.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, I mean, you could just go into the documents and look at Trump's real estate businesses, but you know,
Yeah.
but I mean, it's
Yeah.
For
That's
me,
for another time.
yeah, that's another conversation. But I mean, for me, it's yeah, I can see what you're saying, Connor. I mean, it's definitely there, but I think there's been a lot of sort of back and forth with it. I mean, you can't escape. For instance, okay, here's an example: basketball. Like the Italian league is solid, and they've had a lot of great NBA players come across, or Italian players that have come across the NBA, become famous in their own right. They had a number one NBA draft pick years ago. Like, they're a solid basketball program, and you get the NBA all over Rome, like all over Italy. You have all of you see the jerseys. There's sneaker shops everywhere. Basketball is a huge thing. I mean, my sneaker shop in Rome is called Space 23. They've got all the good licenses. You can get all the different like tiers of Nikes, and they have a second floor which is dedicated. Like the bottom floor is all your New Balance and your Adidas and all that stuff. The second floor is only basketball, and
Oh wow.
it used to only be Jordans, and now it's LeBron's, Jordans, Curry's, and all that. But it's a
Right.
second floor dedicated just to basketball. And the guy who owns it is, I think his name is Materazzi. He's the one that did the headbutt in the World Cup against Zidane and had
Oh,
Zidane.
sure, sure. That
This
was
is
like international news.
yeah. So this is and he opened up a sneaker shop, and he's a huge Jordan fan. I think he's actually got a Jordan or a 23 tattoo, and his
Oh
jersey number soccer was 23. So he's a massive
Well,
Jordan guy.
see, here's the
Yeah,
like mix of cultures again,
yeah.
like
And
because
so I was
basketball is hip hop culture to an extent, like
exactly.
breakdancing and graffiti.
So you see all that stuff there. I mean, you can go back, look at Kobe Bryant. I mean, Kobe Bryant grew up in Italy. He spoke Italian. Like there's a
Oh
square.
yeah, that's right, that's right. And what's up with graffiti in Italy?
I mean,
Is
you
it?
have there's some good stuff. There's some bad stuff, like any place in the world. There's a lot
Yeah.
of tagging. I'm not a big like good graffiti is spectacular, right? Like so, but the tagging, like the little assholes running around just writing their name on stuff.
The
yeah.
bombs and stuff.
Yeah, like I don't
Yeah.
really, Rome is so gorgeous. Like, and then you have the tagging problem. Like, if there's a place where you could actually give the artist a chance to do their thing properly, I think that could be really powerful. But it's not really there. However, in Geneva, right by sort of the lake, is a whole area where they come in and they open up the walls in the summertime, and all the graffiti artists come in and paint them up real nice, and then they clean them up every year, and that's a new thing for the summer. So that's pretty cool. I enjoyed seeing that this summer when I was here.
Yeah, totally. So from
That's like the way to deal with it, though. Sorry, Matt. I
no, no,
just
no,
think that
it's fine.
like the giving people whatever their thing is, giving them a space to do that thing because they're going to do it anyway.
Well, that I have that art background, right, Connor? So I used to apprentice for an artist that was responsible for overseeing the restoration of the Sistine Chapel. So I have like a formal art background for years.
Yeah,
And one of the things that when I was doing my research with him and he was teaching me is that when you had Raphael and Michelangelo, so Michelangelo was working on the Sistine Chapel, Raphael was doing sort of the rooms adjacent to the Sistine Chapel where the school where he painted the School of Athens. When they were staying in Trastevere, right by that pharmacy, right by
where
where
you were living, right?
right there. And when they would come home at night, they would leave at different times, and they would leave graffiti for each other. They're sort of testing one another. So they would just do a little doodle on a wall, at a specific wall, and they would come and like critique each other's work at night. And it was just like a playful banter between the two of them. Because one was, I mean, Michelangelo at this point was 30, 40 years older than Raphael. So they were vastly different human beings, but it was just a way that they communicated,
Right.
sort of like leaving a tweet or a text message for one another, 400, 500 years ago.
Yeah, it's bizarre that it. I don't know. It's certain things have been around for so long. It's
Yeah.
a little beautiful, I guess.
Absolutely. So after you've kind of talked about growing up in a pretty wide assortment of spots, do you have like any kind of particular clothing memory from your like early days? That could mean teenager or whatever, that still sticks in your mind.
Man, I think it's got to be Jordans. I mean, I know
Nice,
that's kind of
nice. What
cliche.
was your first pair?
Oh man, I think my first pair was 92, not the it was the year of the Olympics in Barcelona. So it was the Dream Team Jordans. I forget the exact like the year of the Jordan, but it was 92. They had the triangle on the back. There was a like a to pull them
Oh,
up
that's
below
the
that, and then
6, I think.
yeah, it might have, yeah, I think you're right. I think you're right. So that was my
Matt is a fucking encyclopedia just of all kinds of surprising shit.
oh man, that was my first pair, and I fell in
Nice.
love with. I begged my dad for months and months and months. He finally bought it for me, and then when I got a real job, I just started collecting Jordans. So I've
Oh,
been
that's
collecting
sick.
Jordans years. So
Hold on. I'm fact checking myself because I really want to get this right.
That's so cute. The dedication is so cute.
Yeah.
That's what our show is cute.
Yeah. A
I'm on the record.
dedicated, cute ridiculousness. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I had the like anthracite gray ones with the like almost tie-dye tongue back in
yep,
the day.
that's the one I had.
Oh, that's the
That's what
one.
I had.
Okay. Yeah. Those are it's the 7, not the 6. I'm sorry. I
Okay.
apologize
Yeah.
for my error.
You were off by 1. Who gives a fuck?
Yeah, I
Really.
know. But
Number 40 right here.
yeah, my first pair were 5s when I was in like 4th grade, I think. And
Nice.
I wore them. I mean, they were expensive then. They weren't like nearly. Maybe with inflation, they're about the same price now. I don't fucking know, but like, I wore them for like a year solid, and until I destroyed them and or grew out of them because they were like expensive at that point.
Right. But
Yeah.
that's when when you're a kid and you get something like that. I mean, you cherish them. You genuinely think you're running faster, jumping higher. Like you believe all the
Oh,
marketing.
dude, yeah, and I mean, I was
And
just,
you are. Hello.
yeah,
Haven't you had a Nike sock?
like, I was a
You
nerdy.
reminded me. Um,
Yeah, I was a nerdy
sorry.
white kid trying to play like rec league basketball and sucking enormously.
Yeah,
So
Colin is sitting on the couch with Colin's hoop dreams too.
yeah.
Yeah.
This is before I discovered, or I really discovered music and playing music. So like it was kind of the tail end of my like actual mainstream sport, or
I think
somewhat
your
the tail end.
athletic ambitions are like the most ridiculous part about you.
Yeah,
It doesn't surprise me that you're athletic and good at it, but like, I don't know. But I guess if you're good at it, that's what you want to do,
I
right?
mean, I was not good at all, but you know, it is what it is. So okay, we're gonna skip the second section, which we'll come back to, but because we're on sneakers now. But another question of mine is, what is your favorite Jordan like year, like or model, I guess?
Okay. So my favorite model, which I always go back to, is always the Jordan ones. I
Oh, of
like the
course.
Jordan one below, like because I'm not playing sports anymore, man. I don't need a $250 like part titanium, Kevlar upper leg. I don't need that.
I just don't like the lows.
I'm not. I'm
I
not
have
the biggest
guys.
fan, but I can get down with it.
They're just the most. There's usually the most options, but I don't limit myself to that. Like I will if they're cool and they're unique colorway or unique fabric, like I'll buy them.
Right.
But it's just I tend to gravitate towards the ones because I find them comfortable, and so like when I see them, I'm like, I don't have that color.
Right.
Um, so
How are they received? How are they received like elsewhere in the world where people are not having Jordans?
dude,
You're, I guess, not bringing your Jordans, right?
you'd be hard pressed to go someplace where there's not
Yeah.
somebody that knows what a Jordan.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
there's
no, I mean, there's penetration everywhere, but I'm saying, like, what? I don't know. Like, are people like gawking? I don't know.
I mean, it's if I wear a particularly interesting pair, I will get comments basically anywhere I go. But
Yeah,
like, especially Europe now, like sneaker culture's all over Europe. Like Asia is a big thing. The Middle East, you can kind of find stuff, but everybody knows it, right? Because it's the NBA, and if it's got the Jumpman on it, that's it. Like
right.
somebody's gonna know what it is. So, yeah, I mean, but it, it's really sort of the interesting pairs that will get attention. Like just a pair of like ones that are like orange and gray or something nobody gives a shit about. But like if it's something unique, then somebody will say something. Like I got a pair
You
of
see something, say something.
yeah. Well, I mean, I got one of my favorite pairs is a pair of Air Jordan Shine. I think they're about 6, 7 years old now, but they have like the Bottega Veneta leather weave on them. So it's an Air Jordan 1, but the whole outside is like a Bottega Veneta weave, and it's really nice leather. And those are just unique. They're just different. Like it looks like it could be
Yeah.
a different company shoe, but it's a Jordan, and I
Right.
just love them.
Yeah.
You can dress them up, dress them down. Like I've worn them to work. Like if I'm feeling spicy, a little picante on a Friday, I'll wear some Jordans to
There
work.
you go.
But like, so
My kids freak the fuck out if I ever wear my Jordans to school, which I've done like once or twice. It was like I was wearing the Grinch costume. They're screaming.
there you go. There you go.
And it's all about impressing single digit age children. So
Right. Yeah. I think
They're ruthless, and there's no filter. They're going to tell you exactly what they think. So if you're impressing them, that's genuine.
yeah.
they did say I was wearing my white man shoes once. I had on my Clark's Wallaby lows in a tan suede, which I said you are 1000% correct. You nail head exactly. Just a beautiful observation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Wonderful. I think my last pair of Jordans that I had were the I got them. This was like I think I bought them in like 06 or something for very very cheap on eBay, but they were the original 99 Oreo 4s.
Oh, nice.
God, I love those shoes so much. I wore them, and then of course they started crumbling. And
Yeah.
I gave them to my weed dealer at the time, and he got them like totally remade. Which
Nice.
I hope they're still going strong. I really do.
What is the furthest you have gone to cop, as they say? It doesn't have to be sneakers. It doesn't have to be sneakers. It can be clothing also, or whatever the fuck. If it was like, I know your apartment used to be like all remote operated, so if it was an electronic that you went to a great length, that would also satisfy this question.
It's Jordans. I think. Are you talking?
Oh dear.
Are you talking distance? Or are you talking like just length, like physical distance?
I'm
Like how?
very curious to figure. I'm very curious to hear
Yeah, however you
what
interpret that question.
Yeah, you want to measure it is good. We're fine with a multi-part answer, so you have the floor.
So a very good buddy of mine who was working with me at the World Food Program, ended up flipping over to Nike. So he went to Beaverton and he worked through the ranks and became the director of innovation. So he was responsible for all like the crazy fabrics. Like he would go source the fabrics and then like buy the rights to the fabric, get all the patents and stuff, so that like the fly knit is only Nike, right? So there were years of like preparation to get a specific pair of Jordans that he could then take after he got enough credibility in the building, because he didn't give a crap about sneakers. He was just there because he wanted to get into corporate America and like shoot through the ranks. So he became a bit of a sneakerhead, and he would always send me sneakers. So a lot of my collection just came from him. But we
The
concocted a
Nike
plan
plug.
multiple years, and he pulled it off without telling me for my 40th birthday. And so I got a pair of Jordan 11s signed by Tinker Hatfield.
Oh
And
shit!
Those are my babies.
That's
So
awesome. Because that's one of the last designs he did, right?
yeah, and he doesn't sign stuff anymore. So this
Yeah,
was like
yeah,
literally a favor to a favor, and like, so those are just at home, never been worn, will never
yeah. Of
be
course,
worn.
of course. Yeah.
But that took years to pull off.
That's fucking crazy. I mean, you want to explain Tinker like as a figure for people who don't know? Because I do think
Well, I mean,
it
I
is
think
not universally known information.
what? Well, I think when Phil Knight started Nike, he's not a co-founder, but one of the first people that sort of was brought on board was Tinker Hatfield, who was the lead designer for a number of the major shoes. So he came up with the Air Jordan 1, he came up with the Air Max, the Air Jordan 11. I mean, his list of shoes is,
Then it's like even if you just did one of them, you would kind of be like an
I mean,
immortal.
he's basically the greatest shoe designer that has ever lived.
Yeah.
And a couple of great documentaries about the guy, and he's just like a old surfer dude that just like comes up with brilliant stuff. Like it's just, what do you say? But so getting, probably the only thing better than getting a pair of Jordans signed by Jordan is getting a pair of Jordans signed by Tinker Hatfield. Like
Right.
it's the artist. So for me, like that was the bigger
It's
win.
the artist. See,
So
that's what we have on the show is an appreciation of art. And that's, yes.
so for me, that was the big win. And I don't even think he's designing anymore. But basically, it was sort of like, he was the passion behind Nike. He's the soul behind Nike, the early years. And I don't think you don't necessarily have the scope or the brand recognition, the love affair with the sneakers if you don't have somebody like Tinker Hatfield driving the creative. But that's my opinion of it. So
I think that's a pretty well respected opinion of that dude. Like he changed sneakers. Like Phil Knight was definitely,
Well, when you said he was the biggest, like the most influential sneaker designer of all time, I mean, or shoe designer, I think that's correct.
yeah, it would be hard to say otherwise. I mean, at least if you're not getting into the big, marquee brands of like, like haute couture designer shoe companies.
Well,
Like,
who's bigger than Nike, like period, in clothing? I don't think that anyone has better name recognition.
probably not.
probably,
Probably not.
yeah. Colin, did you ever get into to Nike SB Dunks like back in the day?
Not really, honestly. I've never owned a pair, so it's I can respect them. Like I've got a
Is
buddy.
it because you would have? Is it because people would have called you a poser?
No, not at all. It
I
was
mean,
literally
most
like,
people that were wearing Nike SB were not skateboarders
I'm
in the
just
beginning.
joking. It's got nothing to do with fucking skateboarding, right?
I mean, Jordan 1s were a very popular skate shoe when they came out with like,
But
the
it's like
kind
you
of...
don't have to play basketball to wear Jordans.
No,
It's
no,
like a
but
joke.
well, I mean, that's part of the reason why Nike went into the skateboarding shit was because like, they'd seen years of kids wearing Jordans that were like, fucking heshing through Southern California, and they're like, oh fuck, we should probably tap into this.
yeah, absolutely. But I mean, there's some cool ones that have come out recently. My buddy collects them, who's here with me in Geneva, and uh, I can't remember what they're called, but there's a new pair that dropped a couple weeks ago that looks like a karate gi. It comes with like
Oh,
6 sets of. They're incredible. They're
that's
absolutely
wild.
incredible. Yeah, and there was another pair that sort of has a shark fin on them, like
Yeah,
the top. I love those, but I just I love sneakers. I have probably between 70 and 80 pairs of sneakers, so I stopped buying them. I'm like, I have no more space. I have to burn through some of these, so I
You
have not bought sneakers.
you and the godfather of the show, Renato, should have a conversation about sneakers because Renato is also like a huge sneakerhead.
I mean,
Just another nice person, just like another nice, like very competent, successful person, Canadian. So of course, I mean, just like fucking salt of the earth.
there you go.
You'd make a convincing Canadian, Colin, I think, but maybe too decisive.
I don't know if I'm nice enough. I've never
Well, yeah, that's a
met a mean
yeah.
Canadian man.
So we know that you have a backpack. I thought backpacks and Blundstone sounded like a nice subheading for the remaining segment of this show. Um, tell us about the backpack thing, your fascination with backpacks, your obsession with backpacks, your quest to find the perfect backpack.
Dude, this is travel related. I have so many backpacks, and it's a theme in the humanitarian world. Like a bunch of us all collect bags, and like we will talk about our bags religiously. So like there's probably we'd be hard pressed to find a bag company that we haven't messed around with. Like I've had, I don't know how familiar you guys are with the backpack world, but like everything from AER to Mystery Ranch to North Face, like uh, Sandpiper, California, 511 Tactical. Like I can go down the list. Like I have had, I don't even know how many backpacks trying to find something that, can double as a go bag that I can take with me to a terrible place. Cause you never, like if you're going to hurricane response, for instance. Like you're not taking your roll on Samsonite. Like that shit ain't happening. Like it's just useless. Like if you're going to be
Yeah.
helicoptered in, you can't even take it on the helicopter. So like I, one of the go-to ones is always the North Face like duffel bag. I burned like I don't know how many of those, and they're supposedly indestructible. I had one get caught on fire, like it was in a
What do you mean you had one get caught on fire?
yeah, it got caught. It was just like the latex coating or whatever's on it, like the friction with the belt in some hellhole airport in the middle of nowhere. Look at me sounding like Trump, hellhole. In some developing nations, underfinanced airport, it just got caught, and then all of a sudden, like you could see smoke, and I couldn't get to it in time, and like a flame burst out, and then they hit it with the extinguisher, and like a bunch of stuff on the bottom, like most of my underwear was burnt to a crisp, and I'm like, oh, that's great, going commando for the next 6 weeks. But you know, it's so you're constantly like on the hunt for something that's going to allow you to move quickly, pack a bunch of stuff, and then collapsible so you can move it easily. So for me that's the backpack thing, right? So I mean, I have not yet found one that fits everything, like that meets all of our criteria. So
Right.
we know some of the guys. I don't know if you guys know Mystery Ranch. It was started by a bunch of ex special forces guys.
It sounds
I
vaguely
haven't heard of it.
familiar. I don't know a ton about it.
Okay, they do good stuff. Sort of it's people that were once operators that come in with a very specific mindset, like modular things. How do you build
Oh,
a back?
okay. Yeah. I know what you're
Yeah,
talking about. I just Googled it.
yeah, like they're good stuff. But like one of the teammates is friends with one of the founders, so like we would like to build our own backpack. That would be fun project, a side project. I think like get into it and try and figure out like where you want the pockets, where do you want the straps, like
Right.
how much ventilation do you want,
Well,
like
and like what materials,
exactly like
fucking what color. Hell
black,
yeah.
black.
Only black?
If
What
you're
about olive? Olive is better than black.
Yeah, the one thing, like if you're a humanitarian, you cannot be using like
Yeah.
you should stay away
Military
from
shit.
Yeah.
military tones, right? And everybody wants to like the amount of people I see walking around like camo. I'm just like, dude, guys, like you're basically you're unconsciously like
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah. Like I am a camo enthusiast, and if I were in this position, I would be like, yeah, anything, even if it's fucking real tree, is going to make me look like an aggressor in this situation. Probably not the best idea.
Exactly. So like this was the problem with something like Mr. Grant's a bit better, but like Sandpiper, California, which the acronym is SOC, SOC, right? So they
Yeah.
sell it on basis. And then you have like 511 Tactical, which is all like mercenary gear. So like they're great things, but like I
Right.
don't want to look like a mercenary.
Right.
Like I don't want the Velcro patches on the back. So you want something that's sort of like a humanitarian version of that, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. You want it durable. You're going to be in a refugee camp. You're probably not going to have someplace clean to throw it, so you're just going to go in the dirt.
I,
Like it's going to get nasty.
I'm sure you are not out of like inspirations for this hypothetical perfect bag, but I want to throw two vintage items out there that you should check into for design purposes. Uh,
Dun, dun.
Number
I'm
one is
taking
a
note.
World War II aviator kit bag. That's my personal go-to. It is the best and like most spacious of design bags in like a very practical way I've ever owned, for being like,
Okay.
a very time specific kind of bag. And the other is the I can't remember the exact nomenclature, but the World War II Marine Corps backpack is just a monumentally good design, and has like pockets and straps in all the right places, but like made out of normal or like newer, better materials. Like that could be insane.
Is
I'm
that
going to
the one
take
with the
both of
entrenching
those.
tool in the back?
It kind of has a similar shape to like some of the Mystery Ranch bags, that like taller modular backpack style, but like there's
Yeah.
so many various pockets that come in really handy. Like those are maybe my two favorite bag designs of all time, and they're like, if you made those in Cordura, they would be amazing.
You see, and that, I need to take a look, but that's the kind of thing I think we're on the same wavelength. Like, I
Yeah,
want something where you have lots of options. You want to be able to quickly get to things, quickly move around. Like, you just never know, right? Like,
totally.
you don't have to be messing around with a giant cavernous North Face bag. Like,
Right, right.
they make great bags, but like, I don't need a 28-liter pouch.
Yeah.
I need something that's a little bit
You're
more.
not hiking the Appalachian Trail.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, that's the backpack thing, man. It's just I love them. I have a backpack with me at all times, tiny collapsible ones inside big ones. Like, I just have bags. I love bags. I can't help myself. I mean, I also
Yeah.
have like my Bali like crossbody bag, like my messenger bag, which is my baby. It's like the first when I got my UN contract, I was like, I'm buying myself a present, and I wanted a nice leather bag. So I have like everything from like the nice leather to my go-to that I wouldn't want to take to a meeting, but you fall in love with a bag and then it just comes with you everywhere. If you're in a nice suit with like a muddy, terrible bag. It's a
Yeah,
baby,
I am
That's one of
also
my
a
friends.
bag enthusiast and have way more than I possibly ever could need. But it's one of those things when you find one that scratches the niche, you're like, yeah, I need this.
But Connor knows I can't stand suitcases. Like, I hate
Oh,
suitcases.
same here.
Like,
They're annoying.
so I've made him drag me when I'm back in the States to like Ross to go buy the cheapest Samsonite that's marked down on clearance. I'm like, dude, at least 3 of the wheels work. Cool, because I'm gonna break this thing in an hour. Like,
Right.
I have I have crappy suitcases in various stages of like disintegration around the world. So it's just they just break. They're just
Right.
not designed for anything.
Well, like the wheel is I am not an engineer, right? But to me, it seems like an obvious weak point.
Oh yeah, it's an absolute failure point. Absolute failure point.
They're like on a swivel. They're like going to break on an escalator. That just is. It's designed to break on an escalator, maybe.
Someone needs to
Yeah,
make like
exactly.
the SUV style wheel for like suitcases. Like, oh yeah, I can drag this across rocks. This can handle an escalator.
just like
Like,
a
yeah,
large rubber wheel on a
yeah, like
suitcase.
Understand the economy of suitcases because, like, why is a suitcase like $600?
right.
Like, this is not world breaking technology. Like,
No,
I just
It's the kind of thing that they price higher because people think that it makes it better
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. But
yeah.
then they're always on sale. They're
when
always
it's all plastic anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And they even the new hard shell ones are like, yeah, okay, maybe it lasts an extra 6 months, but I've broken 3 of those. So like,
Right.
yeah, you're just gonna have a baggage handler that's like, fuck this, like I just break it. So
Yeah.
So
suitcase bag.
aside from backpacks, Connor tells me you're also a big Blundstone fan.
I love Blundstones, man.
Be-
I have tried every boot there is imaginable. So Blundstones are my go-to.
best boots. When we were preparing for this, there's a company called Redbacks or something that's similar to
That is the name of the
Blundstone.
company. Yeah.
Still made in Australia, and they're like around the same retail. But I've tried to make myself like them for years, probably a decade at this point, and the sole just kills it for me. But Blundstones
Do you
are
know what they look like, Colin?
Hmm?
They look almost identical to the Blundstone. It's a Chelsea boot. It's an Australian Chelsea boot still. But it has Matt said it looks like Nike made a Chelsea boot, which is correct.
I
It's
checked
got a
out.
like thick kind of almost wedge heel.
Yeah, it's got a weird like almost performance soul. I don't know.
yeah,
Right.
exactly. And like Bloodstone soles are amazing. Like I had my pair that I wore probably 150 days or more a year at some point or
Yeah,
another, and they lasted like almost a decade.
yeah. They go forever. They're comfortable as hell. I basically seem waterproof. Like I haven't
Yeah,
really tested it, but like they're definitely water resistant.
yeah. I
I
mean,
mean, I have the
you're not
full.
gonna wade into a river in them, but like if you're caught in a rainstorm or like in a snowstorm, you're solid.
Yeah, exactly. Though I love them. I love them. And I mean, I'm a Chelsea boot guy. I mean, I don't know how many pairs of Chelsea boots, but like, for work and other things. Like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of Alaska. It's an Italian company. They make shoes.
Yeah, I
You
don't
should
know.
check out Alaska. They make really nice stuff, but it's like I think they sort of cut out a middleman. Like they don't have, they make their own stuff. They have their own brick and mortar shops, but it's high end stuff, but they keep the cost down by some way. I'm not entirely sure how, but but
Yeah.
they make beautiful.
No, I see a lot of this stuff looks nice.
Yeah, I mean it's just classic men's shoes. It's nothing special, but like they make a great Chelsea boot for like the office type of thing. So like if I'm not wearing a sneaker, I'm wearing a Chelsea boot, and so
Okay.
They make a jodhpur too, which is pretty nice. And
but
they make like a pair boot Michelle kind of wallaby shoe, which looks nice as well. I would recommend to our listeners to check out this brand.
they make good
Or
stuff. I don't know if they
they
have
can
it in the States.
sponsor us. Sponsor us.
Right.
Yeah, there you
We'll
go. There
advertise
you
your
go.
brand.
But yeah, so
They make
those
clothes
are sort
too.
of like if I want something more formal, I do those because I've done the Todds and the Pradas and all that kind of stuff, and they're great. Like don't get me wrong, but I'm not I'm not trying to spend if you're gonna buy one pair of Chelsea boots, I'm probably not gonna go Italian high end. I'll go Australian high end.
Yeah.
Um,
RM Williams.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't necessarily. I'm old now, so I'm gonna be like, I don't really need a $500 pair of Chelsea boots at this stage in my life. Like I
Right.
love them;
Right.
they're beautiful. I'd rather get like 3 or 4 pairs of Blundstones.
Yeah. What like
So,
when you're not in the field, what's your typical like, go into the office or normal workday kind of kit?
um, it sort of depends on the time of year, but like it's a formal setting, right? It's the UN, so if I'm not in meetings, like if I'm in meetings, I'm wearing a suit. So I'll switch between like I have a tailor in Rome that'll make me suits to measure for a fairly good price. So, I'll go with the classics there. It's more of obviously an Italian cut, so less padding in the shoulders. The pants, I argue with the guy constantly because he's always like super tight, and I'm like, dude, I actually need to be able to sit down. But they're, you know, he's like, you look great. I'm like, yeah, but I'm sitting at a computer. Like, I'm gonna split my pants, which I've done. Like, and then I take them back. I'm like, see, told you. But but they're beautiful. And then there's Italian companies like Boggi from Milan, which is sort of like a Brooks Brothers, an Italian Brooks Brothers that makes like incredible, sort of more modern fabric stuff. That if you're just like in the office in basic meetings with your team, you can get away with like unstructured jackets that don't wrinkle. Like, oh, they make a blazer that's like, I don't know, like 10 ounces or something ridiculous that doesn't wrinkle. Roll it up and throw it in a backpack and then take it out and be like, and it's perfect.
Oh hell yeah.
Like,
What's it made out of?
I have no idea, black magic, but I have 4 of them. Like I always have them, and there's no lining, no nothing, so it's perfect all weather, sort
Yeah.
of like we're in Europe.
My preferred tailoring style. No bullshit.
Yeah, I don't need all the silk and stuff inside. I don't need 17 pockets. I just need something that's like not going to make me sweat balls
Yeah,
in
yeah.
a meeting. And then I love an Alexander McQueen tie. I, I collect those. I love those. But yeah, so I mean, it's if it's something formal like a meeting with nations, and it's a suit. If not, I'm mixing and matching different things, different textures, fabrics. Right now, I'm a big fan of wool pants. It's just the time of year. So
Oh, totally.
The diplomats, I guess, are a pretty well dressed group, right? It's not like a DC politician thing. We
eh,
talk often about the DC politicians.
it depends. I mean, it's all the nations, right? So it just depends. Like you have nations that are going to wear more traditional stuff, which is beautiful and spectacular in its own way. You have all the the European nations that show up in their blue and gray suits. I mean, eh, there's a suit's a suit, so you can kind of tell when somebody's taking a little bit more care. If they're rolling with like, a 3 piece, or they're doing a more interesting style jacket, or they've got like the train ticket pocket, or you can tell when somebody's going a little bit above and beyond. Like I got
Extra.
my boss here in Geneva wears ascots. Like I've never seen like it's like 3 times somebody not ironically wear an ascot, and he pulls it off. So like I mean he's Swiss Italian, so some of the nations that are a little bit more fashion forward will look the part, but you also just have American diplomats running around in their shoes that I don't know. Like they've got American
Oh,
shoes are not.
uh, how often do you see these these American diplomats or whatever running around in the like the sneaker dress shoe hybrids? Because that's a real pet peeve.
Yeah, I can't stand that, man. I can't stand that. It's with the dudes, it's almost 100% of the time, and I get that.
Derek will be enjoying this if he listens to the program.
It kills me, man. Because they'll spend money on a suit. Like they'll get a nice suit from someplace, but it's like it probably needs to be tailored a little bit, But they got the Velcro sneaker shoe, and it's just like, oof,
Oh,
bro,
Jesus
you're
Christ!
selling it
Yeah,
right there
yeah.
with the
It's really a good way to throw it all away.
and the socks. The socks play a part too. Like you'll see somebody with like ankle socks or something like that. You're like, bro, it's a suit.
God damn it! Yeah,
Go get a nice sock.
yeah.
Go
Like
get a gallon. Go get
go no
something interesting.
show or go like calf. Like don't go in this like weird athletic in between.
Yeah, exactly.
I
And
mean, I'm
wear
sure
your
no
like
show is
like
also like not that's not business appropriate, but
well,
like
if
it's certainly better than a fucking cotton ankle sock.
hey, if you're doing it, if the pants cut a little high and it's the summer and you're wearing like a nice shoe, I mean, I can see it. You can pull it off,
Yeah,
but that's a tough move to make. That's a tough, and the American suit cut does not lend itself to that. That is a Italian suit cut. If you're gonna
absolutely.
do, yeah, I mean, eh. But yeah, I mean, but you'll see everything here. But it's also, I mean, Geneva is extremely wealthy, so
Right.
like you just see. I mean, I've never seen so many supercars. I mean, so you just have everything here. Like you have bespoke everything. I can't. I don't know. There was like a DeLorean parked outside of my office. Like I've never seen a DeLorean in person. Like there's the Ferraris that you have to already own 10 Ferraris to buy like a Le Ferrari that's like $2 million just rolling down the street. This is other than like
Yeah.
see in London. I've never seen such a like a nucleus of wealth. It's just stupid.
An ostentatious display. Well, one of our listeners who I have told you about is a banker in Geneva. And this man is fucking kitted every single day. He posts daily, and every day, almost every day, he wears a suit. And they are like, they're wild. Like he has a red suit. You know what I mean? Like he
I
has
mean,
all of the suits, and then he has also a red suit, which he wears and looks good in.
hey man, if you can, if I mean, it's those private bank money, man. Good for him.
Yeah, yeah, dude. Yeah,
That is a
dude. He's
different
fucking
income
sick. He
bracket.
lives a life.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you have it all here. So if you want to go high end, you can go high end. But it's a little bit out of my price range. I ain't trying to go to get a bespoke suit made at fucking Gucci or something in the
Yeah,
private
I
room.
mean, yeah, honestly, your tailor probably makes just as fine of a suit as a bespoke Gucci. I don't know who they're using these days, but probably
Yeah, I mean,
co- cost to value ratio. I'm sure is probably about the or probably higher for you.
no, yeah, absolutely. And you're going to get a lot of the same fabrics. I mean, like if you're
Yep.
getting a suit made in Italy, they're going to have all the Loro Piana wool. Like you can just get the wool and then they're going to cut it for you. But I mean, so yeah, you can get an awesome suit. I mean, Connor and I have talked about this, like getting a suit made in Thailand versus getting a suit in Italy versus, like it just depends on, what's that sweet spot.
Right.
You're going to get a cheap suit in Bangkok. It'll look good for a few years, but it's not going to be the best material necessarily. So there's like that sweet intersection between like the good quality materials versus the craftsmanship. Like I think the Thais can cut a suit perfectly fine. Like, but
Totally.
I'm not sure they're getting the level of
It's the
material.
backpack thing, right? It's like trying to get all of the elements right is a life is a lifelong struggle.
Oh yeah, and it moves. It's a moving target. So yeah,
So, do you have a go bag? I mean, that you're able to disclose?
I have a go bag when I need a go bag. I don't just have one. Like I'm in.
You don't have one on deck.
No, if I go someplace, then I will have a bag. It depends on where I'm going. Like when I was in Ukraine for a while, I had a backpack that was ready to go.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I mean, we were. It was early days, and everybody was a little bit unsure, and there was the air raid sirens going off all the time, like 3 or 4 times a day. And there's a point where every time the air raid siren goes off in the middle of the night, you're supposed to leave the hotel room that you're in and go to the basement to the bunker. And by like week 2, at 3 o'clock in the morning, the siren's going off, and you're like, I'm not leaving. Like, take me now, but I'm sleeping. Just you're like, fuck it. Because the thing is if you get hit, you're not even going to know it, right? It's a cruise missile. So like, do you really want to be in the bunker and get buried by an 8-story building, or do you just want to like go to the big party in the sky? So, but I mean, at that stage, I had all my clothes ready to be put on with my Bluntstone Chelsea boots, which are quick to get on.
See, this maybe we can get Blundstone as an
Please,
advertiser.
please, Bloodstone. Fucking, I will sing your praises all goddamn day.
Those are my like, let's get the hell out of Dodge shoe. But yeah, so I mean, so yeah, I have a bag, but it's for specific reasons, and it's got minimal stuff in it. But then, like, the go bag is one thing, but depending on where you are, you may have your body armor and helmet as well. So like, you want to be light, you want to have some water, you want to have some power bars. Like, always have not necessarily the brand power bar, but like a protein bar of some kind, because you never know when you're going to need it. And so it's nothing too exciting, like probably a headlamp, some sort of like a camping towel, like the ones that collapse really small, just so you have something. You
Yeah.
can, stuff like that. Depending on where I'm going, like if it's sub-Saharan Africa, I probably am not going to have the same stuff I would have in like Ukraine. Like if I'm going to be exposed to elements versus like heat, so that'll be a deciding factor in what I'm going to pack. But usually it's a couple of like t-shirts I plan to not bring back with me, like almost disposable things. Like I'm leaving. I'm leaving it someplace. So yeah, it just really depends on sort of the situation. But I always have a go bag if I'm in a situation that may require me to leave and move quickly.
Right. Well, holy shit, Colin, this has been a goddamn good interview, and just I don't know, it spanned a lot of topics that we didn't even intend to cover, and yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks for coming on.
Absolutely, my pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
So we always give our guests a chance to shout out what they would like to. So please feel free.
Oh, okay. I guess all I would say is, have a look at the World Food Program. If you're in a position to donate to what we try to do, please feel free to do that. We're the largest humanitarian agency on the planet. We're feeding approximately 85 million people every year. Just like everybody else, we're dealing with funding cuts, so we're having to downsize programs around the world. We don't want to do that. We're in sort of all the big, high visibility operations, and I think we do a lot of really good work. So have a look. If you want to support, that'd be great. Yeah, that's about it, guys.
Hell yeah. Well, we usually ask
Awesome.
for a show donation and throw out ways to do that. But if you want to fucking make a donation to us, just please donate to the World Food Program. They're doing good work, and they're good guys. Anyway,
And gals. And
well, good guys as a gender neutral term. I'm just
right.
good versus bad guy. Fuck it. I'm not going to explain. Anyway, one more time, Colin, thank you so much. Everyone, thank you for listening. We will see you soon. I am Matt Smith at Rebels Rogues.
And I'm Connor Nunez at Real Connor Nunez.
At Apocalypse Duds on Instagram, apocalypseduds@gmail.com. If you would like to give us something to read. Cool. We'll see you next week.
Cheerio.